Okay, a very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here at the new Cornerstone Live here at our Facebook channel with Cornerstone Xstate. And boy, oh boy, do we have an exciting session for you tonight. A session that I've been looking forward to for a couple of days now, but I also heard from people within Cornerstone and outside of Cornerstone have been looking forward to this session because we have an extremely special guest here tonight. But before we get started, make sure that you let us know that you're with us today. I see the numbers already going up to 50. I'm sure we're going to hit over 100 people during our live session today. So please say hello, say in the comment box that you're here right now, say good evening, say hello, because again, we have an extremely special guest here with us tonight. And on top of that, with that special guest, we're going to talk about a super important topic. It's all about the projects and the real estate outlook, the real estate market outlook, moving forward in the situation that we are in today. Everyone in the world is affected, of course, by what is happening through the COVID-19 crisis. But of course, this is the time to start thinking, moving forward, what are we going to do? How are we going to take over? How are we going to move our business forward? And we have found one special guest that can tell us everything about this and make sure that we basically go through, right? That we just tell ourselves, let's keep moving forward and not look back anymore. So if everybody's coming along, I see a lot of people coming here tonight. Let's get started because our special guest is already with us today. You already see him in the screen. So let me just start with a short introduction and then let's get started. Our special guest joined the OSK Group as Chief Operating Officer of the Property Development Department in OSK Property in 2018. He has more than 30 years of working experience in various industries, such as property development, property investment, construction, as well as engineering consulting. He's also a registered engineer with the Board of Engineers in Malaysia and has vast experiences, especially in high-rise and mixed development projects. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Seth Lim. Good evening, Mr. Seth Lim.
Good evening. Good evening, Taco, and thank you very much for inviting me to the show. And of course, most importantly, thank you to viewers for coming in and joining us. Yeah, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Very good evening. Thank you so much for being with us today. A great appreciation from Cornerstone, but actually from everybody that is watching right now. We already have over 100 viewers, Ms. Lim, so that will be growing quite fast. Getting started, right? Just to make sure that everybody gets to know who you are. Most people have heard of OSK before. It's an extremely big developer in Malaysia. However, for the people that don't know, could you maybe give a brief introduction about OSK?
Sure, right. Thank you. So, in fact, it was quite interesting when I was in a conversation with one of the editors, and they say, right, what is OSK, right? So, most of the people of the more mature age would know OSK in the stockbroking line and finance line. But when you talk about property, there's like, And today, as you know, modernization has gone on and people don't do much of a trading anymore. And if they were to trade stocks, they'll be going on their phone. So what is OSK? So that's a very pertinent question that we asked us. And you'll be surprised, actually, OSK was established in 1963, 57 years old. Yeah? And it started in the stockbroking and finance field. And would you believe it? Through its subsidiary PJ Development in 1965, we went into property development, actually. And that's 55 years. So actually, we are no young boys, wet behind the ears, so to say. We have been around for 55 years, and we have done extremely stable in terms of our business. In fact, in 2018 and 2019, The Edge had ranked us as the top 14 developer in Malaysia. And in recently, 2020, that we were very fortunate that we actually won 7 awards from the Star Property Awards, which was very gratifying that we have got this recognition. So OSK been in the market for a while, and we are an established firm, and we have been in Malaysia, and we have actually expanded to Australia in 2017. It's the first project that we're going out. And we are in Melbourne, and the project is called Melbourne Square. And that's the largest single project in Victoria, in the state of Victoria, where Melbourne, Australia is. Yeah. So 55 years going strong.
Wow, 55 years. That is definitely going strong. We will talk about that a little bit more later. But touching on 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄, but now maybe touching on you a little bit. You are COO, Chief Operating Officer within 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄 Holdings Berhad. Could you maybe explain a little bit of the audience, what does a COO do of a property development company?
Right. So I'm like a second fiddle in a way. The Chief Operating Officer is basically primary duties, of course, is to assist the the Chief Executive Officer, in this case, which is Mr. Ong Gi Bin. And basically, in any business, you have got the revenue side and the cost side. And basically, in 𝐒𝐄𝐄, as the Chief Operating Officer, my primary duties are towards the revenue side. So I look after basically sales and marketing processes. I look after the branding, the PR, and also digital marketing efforts, which is interrelated with marketing. And then, of course, post the sales, where I'm also looking after the sales administration. And beyond that, the customer care, and which is very important. Yeah. So, and amongst other smaller departments which I'm involved in. So, as a COO in 𝐒𝐄𝐄, basically my main objective is to look after the revenue generation part of the business, and of course the customer experience, which we want to engage with the customer and get them to have a good experience working with us or buying as a customer from us. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So coming back to your introduction, you have been, attached with the property line for quite a number of years, right? What, what attracts you so much about the property business? What attracted you to start and be in this line for so many years?
Yes, thank you. Well, as you have mentioned in the introduction, I've been in the industry for 32 years. And I've sat in every corner of the table where the meetings are, as a design engineer, as a contractor, as a developer, and even as an investor, as an international property fund manager. In fact, I find that in this industry, my greatest joy in doing these functions that I have is actually to have the opportunity to actually imagine and envision and to realize a dream of what an empty piece of land can be developed into. It is like an artist given a blank canvas that you can actually envisage it. And then when you do it well, people will appreciate it. So it's the opportunity to share this dream of creating a wonderful home or an investment to all our valued customers. Yeah. So in so doing, we are actually adding value and enriching the lives of our customers. And of course, the colleagues that I work with and our bosses that we serve, giving purpose and joy to me in this industry.
Wow, wonderful. That's quite passionate, for sure, as you explain it.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. That that was a little bit about the introduction, about yourself, about 𝐒𝐄𝐄. Let's talk a bit about the property industry, right? What is going on? A lot of things are going on right now. Let's look a little bit first. I know we are in the midst of COVID-19 and this Corona, and many people want to talk about that. But before we get there, let's take a step back before this whole MCO and COVID, right? How was the property market doing in the past 6 months, do you believe?
Well, as you know, the COVID-19 came about, the scare came about, or the events came about, started in January. So if we were to look back 6 months behind that, we are looking at into 2019. And actually, the 2019, in the second half of 2019, the sentiments were quite strong. And it was in part supported by the government in its home ownership campaign, or HOC as we call it. It was extended to the end of December. And we in 𝐒𝐄𝐄, we actually benefited from that. And we actually had a good run-up of sales prior to that. In fact, we had a great 6 months before MCO. We actually completed 4 projects, 3 out of which were ahead of schedule and 3 out of which were achieved 80% of the 𝐒𝐄𝐓𝐇 score, which is a quality score, which is a standard, a Malaysian standard that we have achieved. And out of these 4 projects, we actually successfully handed over to our purchasers 2,500 units in excess of this. And the 4 projects that we completed, Windmill upon Hills, which is in Genting, Luminary in Butterworth, which is in Harbour Place in Penang, Timor Bay, which is in Kuantan, and Iringan Bayu, which is a new township we started off in Seremban. Beautiful township, first phase of 221 units of houses we are handing over to the happy buyers. And if you do check out on our websites, you're going to see a few of the testimonials of our purchasers. They were very happy in receiving this. So it had been a great 6 months prior to MCO actually running out, and we have achieved milestones for our sales and also our profit for 2019. So that was the landscape vis-a-vis in terms of overall where the property market was and where OSK experienced.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, so pretty nice year, very stable, right? Great projects coming up, great delivery. And then 2020 came along, right? The magical number 2020 here for Malaysia, of course, right? And then suddenly we became hearing some noise coming from China about this little virus popping up in, I think in the city of Wuhan. It was starting to spread, and then slowly it starts spreading into the world. So, if you look at over the past, let's say 2 months right now, last 6 to 8 weeks, with everything that is happening, what has been happening at OSK? What has changed so far?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the coronavirus was first detected in January, and in fact, OSK, we were one of the first, if not one of the first, in KL, in Plaza OSK, where our head office is. We are the ones who actually implemented body temperature screening in hand sanitizer and face masks. So in OSK, the welfare of our customers and our staff is our utmost importance to us. So of course, we would continuously advocate to go along with the government during this MCO period to actually stay home and be safe, of course. So naturally, the current MCO or where the coronavirus is happening today is changing a lot of the landscape that we are all experiencing today. And today there's a lockdown or MCO, and we are all working from home. And in likewise, as I say, the game has changed, and we can't get in touch with people, as in terms of face-to-face, in terms of in the physical presence. Our sales gallery have to be closed down or closed. We can't go to the shopping malls to do a roadshows. So it is a liken of, if you ask what has changed, I would draw a parallel to, as you know, the human has got 5 senses. So imagine you were to blindfold me. I lose one of my senses, sight. So what happens? I will have to depend on 4 of my other senses: my hearing, my smell, right? My touch. I'll be moving around and feeling. Of course, I'm not going to lick you and taste you, but then again, that is one of the other remaining senses. But yeah, so one of our senses is down, which means we can't have a face-to-face and contact with people. So what happens? So we have to use the other avenues that we have. We have to make phone calls. We have to have messages, which is WhatsApp and the likes. And technology comes in, and we have got social media. So such as now we're having a Facebook Live. So these are the things that we actually have to go through and reinvent, and we have to excite the other senses out and to be able to communicate out again. So those are the changes, and those are very interesting landscape that's happening now during the MCO.
So interesting. I've spoken to many people, Mr. Lim, and I think nobody has compared it yet with losing one sense and then basically then upscaling the other senses to basically keep moving forward. I really like that kind of analogy, if you will, right? So just a question, just directly to you. How do you experience like working so many days now at home? Do you find it easy to catch up on a routine?
Well, for us in OSK, of course, which I'm sure a lot of companies are also experiencing. So we have got video conferencing basically. So different companies will use different softwares. We use Microsoft Teams. So the whole world now is pushed into a crunch of a crash course on how to use technology now. Yeah. So whether you're young or you're old, whether you're an 𝐒𝐄𝐓𝐇 or you're a Tan Sri, you start to learn to use this modern technology. So it's actually very, very interesting. So likewise for us in OSK, for me, as you have mentioned, you see my background, that's part of my house that you see. So we're all working from home and
yes.
Abiding by it. So yeah, so as I mentioned, other avenues have to come in place. We need to learn to be a bit more adaptive, a bit more creative on how we should be reaching out to each and every one of us. Yeah. So yeah, there's times of frustration where you just feel like I just need to get to the office, get it down, get a few people in the room, let's bring it out, or get down to the ground and actually see how people are doing, and feel the pulse and feel the where action is. But we're all restrained, and therefore we need to be able to do all this from whether you want to call it comforts of your home or the frustration of your home. That's how it depends on how you want to see it, right?
Yeah. Either the frustration or the comfort of your home. I like that. Yeah, it's just what kind of day it is, and if you can get everybody on board, right? So that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. But by the way, I just would like to invite people, if you have any property-related question, or you have a very burning or pressing question for Mr. Lim that you think he can answer for you right now, feel free to ask that in the comment box. We will try to answer as many questions as possible. We only have limited time, and I also have many questions still left for Mr. Lim, of course. So we looked at the past, we looked at the present. Let's maybe carefully start looking into the future, right? Because that is what everybody wants to know. We were living in times of uncertainty. We don't know how long this MCO is going to take. Some people already are putting the word out that maybe the MCO is going to be extended again for another possible 2 weeks, right? So, right. But let's talk about the assumption that let's go to that point that the MCO is lifted, that the MCO is gone. What do you believe will immediately happen to the property market?
Good question. So remember my analogy of you blindfolding me. So imagine now you lift off that blindfold. What will happen? I'm going to be slightly disorientated. My eyesight will start to come back, and I'll start to need to reorientate myself, have a bearing of where I am before I move forward again. And that's how the market's going to react to. People will be, once the MCO is lifted, people is just going to be saying, oh, what's actually going to be happening in the market, in the general economy? Are we allowed to move around? How is our imports? How is our exports? And the likes. So many industries are affected differently and different severity even. So that is the same thing. The market is going to be generally at pretty much of a standstill or cautious, and it's got this orientation and its bearing, and before it starts to move again. So that's how I would see it, in the sense that once the MCO is lifted, people would then want to take a reference stock first, and once they get back to their full senses and they're certain of it, then you'll see going forward again. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, I will fully agree with that. So a little bit, like I said, blindfold off, disorientated, right? People have to get back into their routines, into their daily lives. People will maybe be a little bit scared in the beginning, right? To really do everything as it used to be, right? Because we've been so much, given the fear of, there may be this virus, will it come back again, right? maybe we should look a little bit more ahead. Let's say 6 months ahead, right? Let's say after the MCO is lifted, we all get back to work 6 months further. What do you foresee?
Right. Good point. Good point. If you look further, 6 months, 12 months, of course, the general rule and general norm is that property industry, the market, generally lags behind the general economy of the general economy of the country, for example. And therefore, it's quite important then to look at where the general economy is going ahead within the 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
We all know that various industries are affected differently. For example, if I'm in the airline industry, 95% of the planes are grounded. Pilots are being laid off. Hospitality business, hotels are forced to close, and now they're quarantine centers, some of it. So naturally, these industries are affected quite severely. But however, there are other industries that are not that affected. It could be the civil service, or the medical, or the educational services, and those in between will be again in between. In that essence of it, what's going to happen is those that are severely affected, these are the ones, they will have a different priority. They'll be looking at survival. They'll be looking at how they're going to reinvent themselves. Yeah. Do they find another job? Do they reskill, etc.? For those who are comfortable and has a more secure view, lots of opportunity presents in front of them. So, in the sum of things, within this 6 to 12 months, I foresee that the market is going to be on a cautious mode, and it's going to be a buyer's market, as we call it. Yeah. So and that's what it's going to be, and we have experienced such a situation before, and most likely that's what's going to be happening again within the 6 to 12 months. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, very good, very good. Let's maybe let's go a little bit more about the property itself, right? How people are looking at the property. I agree with you. A lot of industries are very heavily affected, airlines and things like that. But over the past few days, actually past few weeks, I come to realize, because I'm also in the industry for a very long time, right? Most people are locked into their homes right now, right? They're in their homes, steady in their homes. A home has become this safe place, right? That if the whole world is a crisis, the safest place is basically your home, right? And, do you believe that once we come out of this MCO, that people will look differently to a home, right? I mean, that should be quite interesting for a developer to look at, right? The psychological sense behind a home right now, where we have been spending now so much time.
Yeah, good question. Actually, yeah, resounding yes. People are just going to be looking at the properties very differently from now on. So as we spend more time, each and every one of us being locked down in our respective homes, people are going to be having more time actually evaluating their homes. Yeah. So, one example was quite interesting. One of my friends who has lived in his apartment for many years, for once he says, "Hey, I'm actually valuing my balcony, because it's so stuffy. For many years, the balcony was a nuisance. I have to pay more for it. I have to pay maintenance for it. And yet I have to clean it myself. And I hardly go out. It's dusty, it's dirty, blah, blah, blah. And now, weather is humid, 10 minutes out in the balcony and I'm already perspiring like mad." But today, balcony is his our properties, we actually start to evaluate our own homes. And we will value certain parts of our homes. And at the same time, we also will understand there'll be certain shortcomings of our homes. Yeah. And that's where it's going to be very interesting. Because, one example for a shortcoming is one may say, hey, it's so inconvenient where I'm staying. Amenities, buying my essential materials are a hassle. Shops are even further than 10 kilometers or where I'm supposed to go. So then what happens during down as they look at it differently? They're going to be spending more time. More time is going to be spent thinking about it. And they are actually going to be having time to be searching on the websites, to be going on to the search engines and understanding other locations perhaps to get a better location. Or what other opportunities are there? What other products are there? Is it too small for my house today? 5 people cramping around, we're all constantly bumping into each other. Hey, I can't stand this. I got to get a bigger place. Then how? Are there better offers in the same location? So this is actually, I see it as an opportunity time for us to be reaching out to these potential people or customers or market at large, who are now actually reviewing it actually as they're spending more time. They're actually going to love their home more, or they're going to say, I got to find another place better. So it's actually quite interesting. So have faith, and we just need to be there to attend to them, and to have the outreach, as I mentioned earlier, the various channels that we have now. So I believe people will actually understand their needs of what they want in their home better now. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, that it's really a good point. Yeah, I definitely also believe in that people are really reevaluating their homes. Do they like it? Do they I can give you an example. I also live in a home, but I'm missing a balcony right now, right? I mean, if you're locked in, you would like to, I'm in a condo, you would like to have a balcony right now just to have a little bit of fresh air every day. Now I have to go all the way down and kind of sneak myself out, what officially maybe is not allowed, but yeah, I need to have some fresh air, right? So yeah, it's true. You are really now starting to think, okay, what am I missing? And should I be looking for that in the near future because yeah, it's now a necessity, right? So yes. Another point that came up, of course, because, we are, related with Cornerstone and then of course 𝐒𝐄𝐓𝐇, there's a lot of agents, salespeople, they're kind of talking to buyers right now, potential buyers, right? People that maybe were already looking or now have been activated to start looking, right?
Right.
But the media always plays a very amazing role in our society, right? It's not always positive. It's usually negative. It brings some level of fear. But you just said a very important word, a buyer's market. And in a buyer's market, what I understand from a buyer's market, in a buyer's market, buyers need to buy. That's the buyer's market, right? So maybe could you explain, if you would be a buyer today, and considering a property, do you think it's a good time to buy for buyers right now?
Right. Right. Thanks. Yeah. My short answer to that, certainly, it's a great time to be looking for. As we mentioned earlier, there are people that are affected by the COVID, and there are people who are okay. So we are on the assumption that I'm a potential buyer. Yeah. So I'm looking out to buy. So yes, it's a good time to buy. Why? Because I understand my needs better now. I understand what my family will want better now, and I would now be able to actually look for a more ideal home rather than in my figment of my imagination. So why now? Why? Because one of the few things right now that the banks are actually offering a moratorium and a low interest rate. And the central bank has lowered the interest rates twice, not once, twice. Once in January and another time in March. And therefore, I now can actually afford to upgrade if I need to, right? In an example of wanting a larger home or a better location, for example. And at the same time, one is always concerned about prices. But lo and behold, the prices are actually stable, because prices have been stable for a while. Prices can't go much lower than what it is is about at replacement cost, as most people would call it. Yeah, and of course, developers are offering fantastic packages out that will actually help the buyers to own the property. Yeah, so it's an easy step in, which the developers are offering. And also, the government is also giving quite a fair bit of incentives. We heard just now at 4 o'clock, the Prime Minister adding more to the incentive, and that's going to jumpstart the economy or keep it going. And that's also another reason why we should have a more positive outlook towards it. And that's another reason to look at buying it. Yeah. So even if I'm not going to be staying in this, if I'm going to buy it as an investment, again, banks have given lowest interest rate, 6 months moratorium. It's also a good time to be buying. Why? Because then your returns will be higher. And that over a longer period of time, it's going to be a handsome investment. So, nutshell, if I'm a potential buyer, I definitely will be seriously looking at it now, because, as we said earlier, buyer's market. So buyer has choices, lots of choices to look at. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. So you were already touching on the government. Government coming in with certain incentives. Trying to stimulate the economy to keep moving forward as far moving forward means, right? I mean, we are just now locked in, but they're trying to keep it up so that once we get back outside, that we can move forward, right? In your opinion, what other solutions do you think a government, or maybe even also the banks, should give to stimulate specifically the property market?
Well, okay. Good question, very long answer, I suppose. But generally, of course, property developers, we have our champion, which is Radar. And Radar has already submitted quite a fair bit of wish list, if we like to call it, to the government. And of course, the government is giving due consideration in its multi-ministry to look at it. And as I mentioned again, we have been fortunate that Bank Negara has actually given us 2 rate cards. And that's been very helpful. For it is generally not only for properties, but for general economy and to prop the whole economy up going. As we mentioned earlier, 2019, a good impetus for the property market was the home ownership campaign. That's another thing which the government could consider to extend the home ownership campaign going forward into this year, 2020, because it directly benefits the purchaser in terms of cost of purchasing or ownership of the property. Yeah. So other things that which the government can do is, of course, every cities grow, and it is inevitable that as the population grows, the city will grow. And it is within the government where we have got what we call a structured plan. So, which is generally it's a blueprint of how the city is going to grow, the land use is going to be made. For example, KL has got this structured plan which ended this year, 2020, and there's going to be the next 20-year structured plan, which is 2020 to 2040. And the realization in the government needs to understand and accept that as any city matures and grows, population increases, and likewise, the corresponding densities, plot ratios need to mirror that as the city grows. And the other item which is also very good for the government to consider is to continue to invest on the infrastructure. The city grows, infrastructure needs to be upgraded. In particularly, of course, the public transportation. Of course, we are benefiting from the MRT, the LRT, and there's the LRT3 and there's the MRT2 that's going to be coming up. These are fantastic. Why? Because connectivity is good. If roads are good, other infrastructure such as the water, the electricity, and all that. And if the government don't charge us too much for it, then we're going to see the property values will increase. Our purchasers will be happy. it's the rakyat that will be benefiting. And that is where the government could consider to actually assist in the overall market for the property going forward. Yeah.
Very interesting. Very good point. Yeah, that was a good answer. And a little bit long answer, but a very good answer. Very detailed. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, we're also getting a few questions on the side. It relates a little bit also to the question that I'm answering right now, also from Alan Yoon and YS Chow. They're asking a little bit about strategies. So let me package that into one question, you know. With 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄, you know, are you already looking ahead and getting some special strategies, offers or packages that you're going to implement during the MCO, or maybe already even after the MCO?
Right. In 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄, we have got 5 core values, and one of our core values is forward thinking, and it's a very, very, very good core value. And in 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄, we are always constantly thinking forward. Before MCO is over, we already got to think about what type. We have to hit the ground running once MCO is off. And if you were to look at it, very important is that we in 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄, we keep our ears and our hearts to the ground. And we try very best as much as we can to be actually listening to our customers, our prospects. What's their feedback? In every success and every failures of getting a booking or sale, there's always a lesson to learn. And these are all coming back in feedbacks to us. And in terms of strategies, that is how we would formulate our strategies. And in particular in properties, of course, our sales packages. Yeah. So how are we going to help assist the buyers to make that decision, and why would they want it? So our sales packages constantly change, and we constantly cater to the needs of what the project's objectives are. If it's a own home that we want buyer to stay in, we will give a very attractive package for an easy step into the property. Whether we have properties ranging from Sungai Pertanian to Butterworth to Klang Valley to Seremban, it's the same. We've got beautiful townships that's coming up for people to help people to live in, and there are properties that's meant for investments, and likewise that we will cater those strategies and packages that would suit the investor mindset. Yeah. So in that, you know, we of course, the other thing that's also important is distribution channels. So we have got our own friendly internal sales staff that wears a t-shirt like mine. You will see them. And of course, we have got our very capable agents, appointed agents like Cornerstone, that's been very dedicated with us, stayed on through thick and thin with us in all this. So the key towards the whole thing is there's no one medicine to cure all, so to say. It has to be tailored to each and every single need, and it varies from projects to projects and location to locations, and strategies constantly, as I mentioned, the ears and the heart has to be down on the ground to get that feedback, and then only then we can be aligned with the purchasers and have their interest and their heart with us.
Wonderful. I really like how you share that. Really great. Really looking forward how those, you know, adaptive packages are coming out in the near future for those, you know, to see to get those potential buyers in. Would you mind, you know, just a little side question again, you know, for a specific area in the real estate, a commercial and let's say retail space. I know 𝐒𝐄𝐄𝐄 also has a big portfolio of retail and commercial spaces. Do you think that is going to be differently affected compared with the residential market?
Yes, of course. The property market right across all these various sectors, whether it's residential, commercial, or retail, will be affected, of course. Commercial, you can divide that roughly into the office space, yeah, and also the retail, which is part of of commercial properties, and of course there are others like industrial and so forth. From what I can see, coming out of no one is going to be the same coming out of this COVID-19 scenario. Companies, employees will be having a different mindset. We're going to be discovering, companies may be discovering, hey, I may not need that many people, or I may not need that many people coming to office. Some of them are equally productive working at home. And that could possibly cause a lower demand of office space. As it is, we're having quite substantial oversupply of office space. So I would see commercial spaces are getting more challenged. Retail is, of course, been a while. We see things are different, such as online purchases are actually compressing the retail sector market, which the retailers themselves are feeling it, and likewise translating to the landlords. Where OSK is concerned, we have got basically currently Atria, which is in PJ, and Faber, which is in Taman Desa in KL, which has got the retail. And in this case, we do not sell them individually. It's all collectively owned by OSK, and we manage the whole thing. So it's a slightly different approach as opposed to an individual strata sale. So that one is a different address, so which I can't answer for that.
Yeah,
for that
of course.
Yeah.
No worries. Thank you so much, at least for elaborating that there is a big difference, and that will have a huge help for also agents here, dealing in the commercial sector, or the retail sector, doing in that area. So that's shared some good light on that. Maybe this is a little bit of let me say a naughty question, the next one, right? But I still would be curious to see your insight, right? I mean, we know that OSK is a very stable developer. You said the number 14th, nominate or called number 14 by the Edge, right?
Yep.
But of course, there are also much smaller developers out there, right? Do you believe that they will get into trouble in the next coming months?
Well, I can't. Of course, I can't comment on any particular developers. But as we have mentioned, generally, you will find that the property market will be on a cautious mode. And in that, without naming any names, you will find that some of the projects are actually being deferred in terms of their launches. And that speaks a bit towards on where the markets are and where other developers are feeling to. But as for speaking on behalf of OSK, is a very well. We're in a very good position and condition to face the current situation. OSK is in a very strong financial position, and the projects that we have launched have achieved a very healthy level of sales. That is past the cost and also in the cash flow point. So in the aspect of it, OSK is actually very confident of completing out the projects that we have on hand and that we are planning. So in that essence of it, we are in a strong position to face this current situation. But of course, as I mentioned, I can't comment on other developers.
Of course, I understand, fully understand. Yeah, no, it's good that you share it like that, because it's hard to look at others, right? But it's good to know that OSK has an extremely strong position. We talked a little bit about buyers, right? Let's go to the other side. Let's talk about sellers at the moment, right? OSK has sold a tremendous amount of properties over the past years. You said 55 years, very steady in the market, right? Let's go to a little advice for these sellers. What would you advise people holding a property in the market right now? What would you advise them?
Right. In short, hold on to it if you can. Yep. So again, investments. What are investments? Right. Investment is holding a portfolio. Normally, it consists of 3 assets: property, stocks, and cash. And the product mix of this portfolio, it varies from time to time. Different economic cycles would require a different asset class and so forth. So, but however, property is a tangible asset that will hold its value. It has a solid ownership paper that cannot be challenged. It's a physical asset that you own. So if you are staying in it and you're happy with it, hold on to it. If you are not happy in it, it's a great time to be looking at opportunities, as I was mentioning, that you could upgrade, or you could move to a better place, or what you deem as a better place. Yeah. So for those who are investors, again, hold on to it. Why? You have 6 months moratorium repayment. You don't have to pay for the next 6 months on your investments. Interest rate is low now, which going to make returns more attractive. Yeah. We have heard many stories, myself included, of people going down and says, I regret selling that. If I had hold on to it, I will be a millionaire now, and so forth and so forth, so forth.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's the same advice. Hold on to it. And that is if you can. And we can understand there are certain sectors of people whose livelihood is now, let's say, challenged. They may have not much choice. That one, of course, is a no-brainer for it, and we understand the situation that people are in. So otherwise, holding power is the strength to a fortune.
Wonderful. I mean, yeah, you're sharing so much great value, Mr. Lim. I can't thank you enough for everything that you're giving us tonight, and we're getting amazing comments here in Facebook, and so many people showing. We at any point of time had more than 150 people constantly going in, being here with us. So I can see that you already have a huge following, people that like to listen to your stories. So that is already really great. So again, thank you so much. That also means that we're coming close to an end, but not until I ask a final question, right? We talked about buyers, sellers, property, but let's just do one final message for everybody out there, right? If there's one final message, Mr. Lim, that you could share with anybody, doesn't matter within real estate, just anybody in the world, what would that be?
All right. Okay. Well, first off, of course, I'd like to sincerely thank you, 𝐒𝐄𝐓𝐇, and all the viewers who are actually here this evening and participating in this forum, and likewise the opportunity given to me to share a little bit of what I know, or the insights that from my set of eyes see. With regards in terms of in general, we in OSK, we always believe for properties, as long as in the right location, the right product, at the right price, it will always be a gem of a property. Yeah. So therefore, in OSK, we work actually very hard going through all the opportunities there are to look for the right location to have any particular projects that we have. And we spend a lot of effort in trying, in terms of market research and all that, to get the right product introduced into that location with the right development concept. Remember, I was sharing that we would like to have that dream, that vision of what we would like to put onto this piece of land, this opportunity. And getting the right product is important. Now we start to think about, hey, maybe balcony is important, yeah, as you have shared, yeah.
For me, for sure.
So so maybe we'll have to start to consider that, right?
Yeah.
So these are things that we have to be aligned. The product has to be aligned with the market. We can't build something I want, but not what the market wants. It's pointless because we are selling it to the market. And then the last final bit is to have it at the right price, the best possible price. And it's why in OSK we have a property and a construction team that works very closely together. We call it a PropCon, property construction PropCon. And we work very closely together. We stretch our brains out. We stress our consultants out to get the best product at the best price, at the best cost, so that we translate it into best price. So that we actually get to our buyers the final product in the right location with the right product at the right price. So, which is we are so happy actually at this point of time that we have been here for the last 55 years and we want to be continuing on forever. And the key thing is that we are so happy to have these customers who have followed us very loyally, and we are very happy in all this that we do. We're actually adding value and enriching all the lives of our customers and buyers. So yeah, in short, I really thank you very much, Taco, and Cornerstone, of course, to be here tonight. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lim. That was really amazing, and good words. I like it. Good location, good price, good product. It all has to kind of fit together. And after 55 years of so much experience, right? I would just say keep doing the wonderful work in the next 55 years, and I'm sure that one day OSK will
much more.
grow to not the top 14, but definitely the top 5 developers in Malaysia. Great work, and thank you so much. So that brings us to an end of this session. We really hope that you enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it so much. I was very honored and super proud to spend some time with Mr. Lim here. We hope you really enjoyed it, learned some key points. If you have enjoyed this session, make sure to also share this with your colleagues, with your friends, with anybody that is in any way in the property line. And in Malaysia, that are a lot of people. So make sure that you share this session with them. Again, Mr. Lim, thank you so much. I can't wait to meet you one day in person once with this all MCO is over. But for now, please stay healthy and stay safe.
My pleasure. Thank you very much to you, Taco, and to all the viewers. And as we say, stay home and stay safe.
Exactly. Again, thank you, everybody. Coming here from you from Cornerstone Live. This was with a special guest, Mr. Seth Lim from OSK Property. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you again next time. And for now, have a wonderful evening. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you.